The International Criminal Court has found a Sudanese warlord guilty of crimes against humanity during the civil war in Darfur more than 2 decades ago. Muhammad Ali Abd-Al Rahman faces life in prison for offenses including ordering mass executions and rapes. He's the first militia leader to be tried over the conflict.
In the 2003 war in Darfur, local Arab militias known as the Janjaweed targeted ethnic African tribes. The Janjaweed were backed by Omar al-Bashir's government in Khartoum. He was trying to repress a revolt by ethnic African rebels who had taken up arms against his government. The rebels accused the Arab-dominated government of oppressing Sudan's non-Arab population. Janjaweed militants riding camels were known to attack at dawn, pillaging villages and towns inhabited by darker-skinned African tribes. The UN says hundreds of thousands were killed, with victims dying in combat, of starvation or disease. Millions were displaced into refugee camps and into neighboring Chad. Muhammad Ali Abd-Al Rahman was a senior leader of the Janjaweed at the time.
The evidence shows that Mr. Abd-Al Rahman was a knowing, willing, and energetic perpetrator of these crimes. He played a crucial role, leading attacks, committing murders, and ordering other murders. The victims of the suspect's crimes are countless, and their suffering immense. The pain inflicted on the victims of these crimes persists. The region of Darfur is still grappling with the devastation brought about by these events.
Abd-Al Rahman maintains his innocence. He entered this plea at the start of his trial in 2022.
Do you wish to plead guilty to any or all of the counts?
I reject all these charges. I am innocent of all these charges. I am not guilty of any charges.
2 decades on, Darfurians who were forced from their homes remain displaced refugees living in camps, and violence in the region continues to flare up. Abd-Al Rahman is the first person to be put on trial for the atrocities and genocide committed in Darfur.
Well, for more now, I'm joined by Mohaned Elnour. He's a Sudanese human rights lawyer. Mr. Elnour, it's good to have you with us. Tell me, how important is this conviction for Sudan?
Well, thank you so much for having me. This is a significant decision that proves justice is possible. Victims have been waiting for this moment for more than 2 decades. I've been watching and following the social media and the reaction, and most of the victims who I personally worked with in Darfur in 26 and 27 are celebrating this decision. So we believe this is a significant decision, but the victims are still looking for other perpetrators to be held accountable for the crimes.
Could you tell us more about the
and
evidence?
Not only that, but
okay,
also...
Go ahead.
I'm just saying not only seeing the perpetrators accountable for the crimes, but also the victims need to return to their homes, need to get a decent compensations. Sadly, I'm talking now where most of these victims are listening to this great verdict from refugees camps in surrounding countries or living in Darfur, facing the same crimes and same atrocities from the same perpetrators.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell us more about the evidence that led to this conviction?
Well, I would like to thank here the Office of the General Prosecutor for the thorough investigation. I believe the court relied on concrete evidence, really powerful evidence, and that it was also excellent to listen to the court. This powerful listening to the list of the names, those who have been killed, tortured. So the court went through all the details, which is heartbreaking. But at the same time, I believe all the victims who were listening to this feel a sense of relief, their relatives, their loved ones. So the evidence were really beyond the reasonable doubt, which was also significant that most of the, at least 2 of the Bashir co-perpetrators, Abdul Rahim Muhammad Hussein and Ali Harun, their names were mentioned many times during this trial, which shows that there is also concrete evidence to prosecute others.
These atrocities that we're talking about, they were committed more than 2 decades ago. Do you think that justice has come too late?
It is, unfortunately, yes. It is late, especially the ICC itself see its role as a deterrent to future crimes, which is not the case in Sudan, unfortunately. The same perpetrators, as I have just mentioned, committed and are still committing the same crimes, international crimes. We see the people in West Darfur, the genocide against Masalit ethnicity. We see the destruction of objects, civilian objects, destruction of worship places. Just last week, 70 civilians were killed while they praying Fajr in the mosque. 2 weeks later, 2 churches were bombed and used as a military bases. So we did the same crimes and also using the food as a weapon of war. People in Al-Fashir run out of food and now they are eating the animal feed because there is no food. It's also expensive. So the situation is really, really terrible. But I will still see this as something positive, at least something positive. And we hope this will deter future crimes, considering the situation in Sudan, which is the culture of immunity that has prevailed in over years in Sudan. So hopefully this decision will prevent more crimes from being committed.
Well, you know, the United Nations says that the conviction should remind participants in Sudan's current conflict that they will not enjoy impunity. So tell us the impact that this judgment could have on the current conflict.
Absolutely, this is right. And this is one of the, it is a great day for Sudan to say, in addition to the ICC decision, it's also the UN Human Rights Council adopted or renew the renewal of the fact-finding mission, which is very significant in documenting the crimes and the atrocities that have been committed. One of the members, you know, for the good coincidence, one of the members were also member of the 2005 fact-finding mission that was established by the UN Security Council. So this might prevent and might be a good message to the perpetrators who are committing the crimes now. Justice can be seen and justice is coming. So hopefully they will get the lesson. But as a human rights lawyer, I've been saying all the time, accountability is a key for stability. As long as the immunity culture prevails, we can not see justice in Sudan.
Sudanese human rights lawyer Mohaned Elnour. Mr. Elnour, we appreciate your time and your insights tonight. Thank you.
And our correspondent, Christine Mhundwa, is in The Hague covering the trial for us. Christine, we just heard the defendant there claiming he's innocent. Tell us more about the evidence that led to his conviction.
Well, Gerhard, it essentially came down to strong witness testimony that the court felt was credible enough that couldn't be dismissed. Witnesses spoke of a man who they recognized as the notorious Al-Kushaib, who is Mr. Rahman, who ordered Janjaweed militants to commit some of those atrocities, who boasted about having connections to the government in Khartoum and taking his orders from a minister there. This is key because Mr. Rahman was denying that he was this notorious Al-Kushaib. He brought witnesses to testify that he was an ordinary man who had nothing to do with the conflict and was just a pharmacist who'd been caught up in these allegations. The court, of course, dismissed his witnesses, saying they were not credible, and going with the evidence and the testimony of witnesses who pointed him out, who recognized him as the man who ordered the atrocities, some of them at least, that were committed against them, who saw him committing some of those atrocities, and that was essentially what it was. There was also a video where Mr. Abd-Al Rahman referred to himself as the notorious Al-Kushaib. That didn't help his case either.
Now, how important is this conviction for the victims of these atrocities that were committed in Darfur? I mean, that conflict was more than 20 years ago.
Gerhard, if you had heard some of the testimony by the witness, you would have thought that this conflict was more recent than that the pain and the trauma that they live with is still so present, so real. It's not something in their minds that happened so long ago, as they still live with the trauma of that. The court heard from a woman one of the women who was raped, who talked about how she was pinned down by two men, while a third, penetrated her. A man who was a boy, barely 15 years old at the time, who saw homes in his villages being torched with people inside, the screams, the trauma. 2005 was the first report by UN coming to the conclusion that human rights atrocities, that war crimes had been committed in the region. And up until now, not a single person had been brought to justice. And so there is the sense now that this opens the way for more people to be held accountable. No one had faced those charges and accounted for what happened to these people who are still living in those conditions. People are still displaced. By the way, some of the people could not even make it to testify because of the conditions where they're living. They're still victims in many ways. Violence flares up every now and again. The Janjaweed has rebranded there now and now goes by the RSF, still controls people's movements and is still a threat to those people who remain refugees all these years later. So justice is almost now going to be served for these people.
And not only for the person, the accused today, but the ICC has also an arrest warrant out for Sudan's former president Omar al-Bashir on charges related to alleged crimes in Darfur. Is he expected in court any time soon?
Well, Gerhard, Mr. Omar al-Bashir, then president of Sudan, was identified by prosecutors here as the lead actor in all of this. It is at his direction that the government allowed the Janjaweed to carry out these atrocities, that he provided the means, the facilities. The Janjaweed were known to ride camels and horses. He provided land cruisers, assault rifles, weapons for Janjaweed militants to mete out this violence on these harmless villagers in the aim of quashing a rebellion. In 2009 already, the ICC issued an arrest warrant for al-Bashir. It was the first time they'd ever done that on a head of state who is in office. Al-Bashir was since ousted in 2019. He remains in prison. The government in Sudan had promised to bring him to The Hague, but it has not done so yet. The challenge for the ICC is it cannot enforce its orders. It relies on other states to help it execute the justice that victims deserve.
DW correspondent Christine Mhundwa there. Thank you very much, Christine.